O sing unto the Lord a new song, for he hath done marvellous things. His right hand and his holy arm hath gotten him the victory. The Lord hath made known his salvation. His righteousness hath he openly shewed in the sight of the heathen. He hath remembered his mercy and his truth toward the house of Israel. All the ends of the earth have seen the salvation of our God. Make a joyful noise unto the Lord, all the earth. Make a loud noise and rejoice, and sing praise. Sing unto the Lord with the harp and the voice of a psalm. With trumpets and sound of cornet make a joyful noise before the Lord the King. Let the sea roar and the fullness thereof, the world and they that dwell therein. Let the floods clap their hands, let the hills be joyful together. Before the Lord, for he cometh to judge the earth. With righteousness shall he judge the world, and the people with equity. There is no let up in the subject matter. Doctrinally, this is the millennial reign of the Lord Jesus Christ. Verse 1 is self-explanatory. It matches Psalm chapter 96 verse 1 and Psalm chapter 31 verse 21. The right hand is the one we discussed in Psalm chapter 44 verse 3. His holy arm is also reference to the Lord Jesus, for the hand is on the arm. See Psalm chapter 44 verse 3 and 77 verse 15. Devotionally, note that a Christian can sing a song unto the Lord. There doesn't have to be anyone around to hear it. And even in a congregation it can be sung for the Lord's benefits instead of the people around you. Verse 2. Nothing could be worded more plainly. This is Isaiah chapter 40 verse 5, Revelation chapter 1 verse 7, and Zechariah chapter 12 verse 10, fulfilled to the letter. His righteousness is Jesus Christ, Romans chapter 10 verses 1 to 4, 1 Corinthians chapter 1 verse 30, who never saw it himself openly in the sight of the heathen, one time in more than 2,000 years. Not only have all the ends of the earth never seen the salvation of God, Israel hasn't seen it either. Verses 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 are going to take place literally. Nature will rejoice, and its elements will physically respond to Christ's presence, for he is their creator. Galatians chapter 1 verses 15 to 18. His coming liberates them from the bondage of corruption. Romans chapter 8 verse 21. The commentators were so anxious to make everything figurative, they forgot that Paul said, the whole creation groaned and travailed in pain together. Romans chapter 8 verse 22. It's not just men and animals who are waiting for the deliverer to come out of Zion. Romans chapter 11 verse 26 and 27. To lift the curse of Genesis chapter 3 verses 15 to 20. The flowers and bushes are waiting, the trees and rocks are waiting, the hills and mountains are waiting, the rivers and ponds are waiting, the seas and oceans are waiting, and the canyons, deserts and polar caps are waiting. It's the King, verse 6, who shows up in the openly verse 2, to restore Eden, and this King appears in the sight of the heathen. Jesus Christ didn't appear to any unsaved Jew or Gentile after his appearance to Paul, 68 Anno Domini. As if there could have been one doubt about the literalness of these matters, the following appears. He cometh to judge the earth, with righteousness shall he judge the world. Verse 9. That is what Jesus Christ said that he didn't come to do at his first coming. John chapter 3 verse 17. He said judgment would take place later. John chapter 5 verses 21 and 29. He came to save the world the first time. John chapter 3 verse 17, Matthew chapter 11 verses 28 and 30 to 30. 1 Timothy chapter 2 verses 3 to 4. Not to judge it. James says the judge is ready to come, James chapter 5 verse 9. But this is long after Christ has gone back to glory. If he has to get up, see Psalm chapter 3 verse 7, chapter 7 verse 6, chapter 9 verse 19, to judge someone. He will judge the man of the earth. When he comes for his judgment, he must take the government upon his shoulder. Isaiah chapter 9 verse 6 for Psalm 76 verse 4 says he will govern the nations upon the earth. See Revelation chapter 11 verse 15. He has let nations and individuals reap what they have sown. He has allowed Satan to have access to men and nations at times, and he has intervened on rare occasions to save an individual or a nation from destruction. But that is not governing directly on earth. That is God's sovereignty over the universe. When he comes, he will come as a king and will sit down on the throne to judge. Matthew chapter 25 verse 31. His apostles will judge with him. Matthew chapter 19 verse 28. Martyrs will judge with him. Revelation chapter 20 verse 4. And he will judge the earth. Verse 9. And Revelation chapter 6 verse 10.